Good evening. I wanted to jump on here to answer a question that was submitted to me about intuition. Now, intuition is something that I use all the time. I use it every day. I use it throughout the day. I use it when I certainly have questions, when I'm trying to process something, when I want to figure something out, when I want to make decisions. I use it literally all day, throughout the day, every day. And it's certainly something that when I'm working with others, that I help many people to be able to develop their intuition so they have confidence in it, so they trust it, and so they can use it when they need it. And not just when it seems to show up. And what do I mean by that? Years ago, when I first started recognizing that I had intuition, it would come as a gut feeling and it would show up kind of intermittently. I wasn't always sure when it would or if it would. And when it did, I didn't always know what to do with it. Now, if you're watching this live, feel free to say hello. Feel free to let me know that you're here. And if you've got questions or thoughts or comments about anything that I'm sharing, feel free to jump in. So one of the things I want to know, do you recognize your intuition, how it shows up for you? And does it show up whenever you need it? Can you access it, what I refer to as on demand? Or is it something that you pay attention when it does show up? Let me know what your experience is. So with my intuition, it would show up periodically, and it would show up in different ways. And where I noticed it more certainly was in my work as a chiropractor. I seem to know to check sometimes what would be like obscure adjustments. For instance, I might want to check somebody's jaw, even though they have never had complaints about jaw. Nothing seemed to be related to the jaw. But yet I would check something about the jaw, and I can remember one time when somebody said, like, why did you check my jaw? And I said, honestly, I don't know. I'm like, why are you asking? And they're like, well, I forgot to tell you that over the weekend I had an issue and my jaw locked up, and I forgot to tell you. So I'm finding it interesting that you are checking my jaw, even though I didn't mention anything. And so I'd have experiences like that it was like, I gotta pay attention to this. And now the way I use intuition is more not just when it shows up and shares information with me, or there's information that I can access, but I can also do it by asking questions. Like maybe I have some decisions to make. Like for instance, this live. The question I put out there was, is it my highest and best interest to do a live on this topic? And when I checked my intuition, I got the response of yes. And I have a client who uses this method. Hey, Jerry, it's good to see you. I have a client who contacted me who uses this method, and she had a question. And that question was, what happens when I have a question that I'm accessing my intuition about, and I seem to get yes for both choices? Now, of course, she had gone in with the intention that she thought it was going to be one or the other. I either do this or I do that. And a lot of times that's the way that we are asking questions. We want yes or no. Or we want to know to go this direction or that direction. When, in some cases, and I'd probably even say more cases than we realize, the answer is both and. And so how do you walk through that when it comes to your intuition, especially if you are someone that when you access your intuition, you're using something like a pendulum. And I'm pulling out mine. I don't typically use a pendulum on a regular basis because I have other methods of connecting with my intuition that I find are easier, they're faster, and they allow me to receive more information other than like a yes or no. Now, for those of you who have seen and used pendulums before, I mean, this is a pendulum. Usually has some kind of crystal or something at the end. There's usually a chain. Now, for this client, she wanted to know whether or not to purchase a program, and she got a response of yes. Now, for me, in my pendulum, the way you see it swinging, that's a yes for me. I'm going to ask it to show me no, so that way you can see the difference. Show me no. And you can see that now it's starting to go left and right. And I'm not moving my hand as far as for it to change direction. But this client, in asking about this program, she got a yes. And then she wanted to know about another program. And when she asked about that program, she also got a yes. Now, sometimes, Jerry says her mind is in the way. And yes, sometimes that can absolutely be the case. I mean, as I mentioned, she went into the question thinking it was going to be either or. Both was not even like kind of in her awareness. Where it can be both. So we walked through some possible scenarios where you would recognize that it would be both. And that often means asking some additional questions. Now, say based on time, say based on money or resources, doing one is all she can do. Then you could ask the question, which program, or is one program going to provide more benefits if I can only choose one? Now, in this particular case, I'm getting yes. But you can also ask, is it in my highest and best interest to do both programs? Okay, and now I'm getting yes. To do both programs at the same time. Ah. Okay, so now I'm getting no. Is it beneficial to do program A first? No. To do program B first? Okay. So I put that out there because this is one way that you can get more information if you're using your pendulum to access your intuition. And I say access your intuition. I love when people use a pendulum or some other way to access intuition when it comes to making decisions, because we're not just relying on our logical mind or what is in our conscious awareness, what we're trying to figure out or think through with very clear black and white answers. Or maybe we've done research and now we're like, okay, what's the pros and cons? Because sometimes we get the pros and cons and they're pretty matched. Or maybe here's a really good pro for this one, but here's a pro for this one. And we're really comparing apples and oranges. So we can't get it to be crystal clear or black and white in a logical way. But hey, I don't want to rely only on logic when, by accessing my intuition, I can access what's also in my subconscious that my conscious is not yet aware of. I mean, how many times, and send me a smiley face or thumbs up, how many times have you made a decision because your gut was so clear that you were like, oh, I've got to do this, or I've got to do it this way, or I've got to go here, because your gut was so clear, but yet your mind was giving you some different information. But when you followed your gut, it worked out for you. Now, I find it interesting, and I want you to post that in the comments. Give me a thumbs up or a smiley face if you've had that experience, that you've followed your gut and it's been good, even if you don't really get it in your mind. And I will tell you that most of the people I talk to, when I ask them about following their gut, they will say that when they don't follow their gut, it usually comes back to kick them in the butt somehow. That when they follow their gut, they're glad that they did. Now, again, to go back to the original question, what do you do when you find yourself in a situation where you're asking questions and you're not sure if you're getting the right answer because it seems like you're getting yes to both? Now, I gave you the example. Is it in my highest and best interest to do both at the same time? All right, and I'm getting no. And then I said, do we do program A first? And we got no. Do we program B first? And got yes. Another way to do it would be, which program provides the most benefits at this time? Is it A? No. Is it B? Yes. Now, you can see that that took a bit of time. One of the other things that you can do when you're trying to decide, or when you seem to get yes for both, is pay attention to the swing. Now show me yes. Show me a hell yes. And you can see that a hell yes swings a whole lot more. And that can happen if you use other methods for your intuition too, that the energy behind it is a yes, but it's like a soft yes. Or in another case, as I said, show me a hell yes. It was really, the energy behind it was very clearly yes. You want to pay attention to those subtle differences, because those subtle differences can be the difference between doing something that is a yes or doing something that's a hell yes. You definitely want to do that. I don't know about you. If I'm making decisions about my life, about my business, that's in the best interest of me, I want to be making decisions that have the energy of a hell yes behind it. I don't want something that's soft or, is a yes, but, 51% is a yes. But do you want 51% or do you want 90%? I want 90%. So, here are some steps that you can do to get clear. 1, be clear about the way that you're asking your question. Because the other thing that I see with people is they ask their question already trying to answer the question with their mind. When we use our intuition, we're not using our mind. We're accessing our subconscious. We're accessing our heart, what's in our gut. We're accessing so much more information. So for me, it's more accurate. When we're just accessing our mind, we're accessing only a small part of the information that's available to us. When we're using our intuition, we are accessing a much larger cache of information. I often compare it to, it's like accessing information in a book versus accessing information available to you through the internet. There's a lot more information available through the internet. Imagine being able to do that with your intuition without having to read it all. Intuition is like the internet. You have this vast source of information. So be clear on the questions that you're asking. Be certain that you're not allowing your mind to get in the way, as Jerry pointed out for us. And the third, be ready to ask more questions. To be crystal clear that you're actually receiving the information that you want to. And be aware of the subtle differences in the energy of the information that you share, because that will continue to tune you into the right direction. All right, everyone, if you've got questions, if you've got comments, feel free to post them below, because I want everyone to use their intuition to change your life. All right, I'm sending you lots of love and, of course, all things fucking fantastic. Till we connect again, I love you all.